All right, Mosa Telford, welcome to the Gyaff. Thank you so much for being here. It's such a pleasure to talk to you, and I appreciate your time. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Doing
No
well.
complaints today.
Not today.
Not today.
Okay, that's good. Because-
Trying to keep in positive vibes.
How is that for you? Because I feel like I struggle a lot with that sometimes.
I mean, I struggle sometimes too, but you've just got to keep pushing, keep being determined, not to let, life weigh you down, even though
Yeah.
things are coming from all directions. Yeah, the negativity and all that. So yeah,
Do you think, like, culturally, is it something in the water, or is it like, do you find our, us here particularly negative, or is it just maybe, there's a lot going on right now that sort of is causing us to be a bit more anxious?
there's a lot going on, and it depends on your personal life and all of that, what you got going on. But yeah, Guyana is stressful. At least for me, it is. Because there's so much coming at you all the time. There's so much negativity in the news. So you've really got to make time for yourself and make time to focus on positive things that are going to get you in a place of happiness, So
Definitely.
yeah,
So you're a writer, for people who
yes,
don't know, and you have a very interesting column in Stabroek
yeah.
News, which I happen to read quite often when I can. It's called
Think
"Think
on
on That,"
that.
which
Yeah.
is a lovely reflection of someone operating in Guyanese society. That's what I get from it.
Yeah, that's what
Um,
I want people to get from it.
and
Yeah.
but, we're talking about negativity and what influences our sort of outlook on life. How do you reconcile your writings with, like, your own personal experience? You know what I mean? Because sometimes I guess you're not talking on behalf of only yourself in your column.
No.
You're sort of giving a reflection. So how do you sort of limit your personal bias in your writing, or how's your relationship with that?
Yeah, I try, like when I'm writing, I try to be balanced in whatever I write. I try to come from different perspective and not just one. Um, with writing the column, I like to say that it just comes out of me. Like there's no one way that I do it. Um, I write once a week, and a lot of times I'm walking around all week thinking about what I'm gonna write, and it doesn't always come. Sometimes it comes easy, sometimes it doesn't. Like I look at what's going on in the society this week, or sometimes there's something that I see happening that I feel like I must put my voice on this, and so sometimes I pick up my laptop and I have no idea what I'm gonna write, and I start typing and words appear, and before I know it, there it is. So I like to say like it just comes out of my soul. It's a gift, It's not all me. I think I'm inspired. It's divine. It's my purpose, to be a voice. So yeah, I enjoy doing it, and sometimes it can get a little stressful. And for me, going back to finding time to really be in positive spaces and stuff, I need to really, really do that, because when you look at the news and all that in Guyana, it's a lot of, like I said, a lot of negativity. And to be constantly focused on these issues, because you're writing, you got to stay up to date with everything that is happening. Sometimes it can weigh you down. So as a writer, you really need to set aside that space to really de-stress and be in that, those positive vibes and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Who is your audience though? Like when you sort of write, I mean,
Yeah.
and the reason I'm asking this is because I kind of related to this podcast, right? I obviously see no value in pandering to people.
Yeah.
I know my audience is not necessarily the whole of Guyana, because that's to me, it's an unrealistic expectation to connect with
Yes.
everyone.
Yes.
But I do feel like there's a big demographic that relates to the conversations I want to have, and the kind of the people I invite on and their perspectives.
Yeah.
And I see that as like maybe a young adult to, you know, a older person, but sort of who's not totally consumed by the socio-political rhetoric, you know?
Yeah.
And most of those are young people. So that's kind of my thing. So when you write, do you have a specific audience in mind, or do you just
No,
sort of...
I write for a general audience, but in terms of the feedback that I get from people, it's mostly middle-aged to older people. I would say, yeah, I read your column and stuff. I don't really get feedback from a lot of the younger people, like in their 20s, in their 30s. Yeah, so my audience probably is more middle-aged to elderly because that's the people I get the most feedback from. Even though I would like everybody to read the column, you know. But you find a lot of young people I find do not read. So that's
Yeah.
part of the issue as well. They don't read books, they don't read the newspaper, it's all social media, internet, all of that. So maybe that's part of the reason as well. And yeah.
You know, based on that, the fact that young people aren't reading as much, have you ever thought about diversifying to the sort of hit maybe younger people, using your what your gift, but translating it through a different medium?
Yeah, I've thought about creating a blog. You know, I sort of started a few years ago, but it just fell down. Yeah, so it's still something I want to do, create a blog where it could be more relatable to the, you know, to the younger audience. And my blog, I just don't want it to be like the column. You know, I want to like write in Creole and stuff like that, you know,
Gotcha.
where people can really relate to that. And so, yeah, I'm still thinking about it. It's something that I still want to do. Besides the blog, I've also thought about doing stuff like on Facebook and so on. But I haven't thought it out as yet.
Do you spend time on Facebook?
Well, I'm not on Facebook as myself. I
Okay.
deactivated my account some years ago, but I do
Smart.
have a fake account
Yeah.
to keep up to date with the news and so
Yeah.
on. No friends or anything. Don't comment on anything. Don't like anything. It's just basically peeping, you know,
Yeah,
to see
yeah,
what's
yeah.
going on. But yeah, my Facebook account, I can still reactivate it anytime. But it got to a point where I was just fed up of Facebook, you know, and
It's
it,
exhausting.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I think, when did I deactivate it? Maybe in 2020 or 2021, somewhere around then. Once in a while, I would log in to my account just to peep what's going on, and then immediately deactivate it again. But yeah, Facebook is a lot.
I was just having a conversation with a friend yesterday, and you know, we were just we were sort of trying to read public opinion, and you know, we're talking about getting this sort of opinion from Facebook. But Facebook to me is just not the right place to get it because it's so loud, it's so
loud,
obnoxious.
There's
and
so much conflict.
yeah,
You know, everybody, you say something and people are ready to jump down your throat. People don't respect other people's opinions sometimes.
oh, definitely. No, that's the
God.
internet on a whole.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm thinking, like, you know, if you were to juxtapose that with, you know, talking to someone outside of Facebook on the road or wherever we sit down here, it's a very different experience.
It
And
is.
if I went on Facebook and saw 100 people yelling and screaming at each other, were I to take those 100 people into real life and have one-on-ones,
Yeah, much
I'm
different.
sure 99% of it would be different, you know.
It would be, yeah.
So it's just to me not the best place. I mean,
Because people are, you know, on a computer or a phone or whatever, they feel like they could just say anything. You know, they're big and bad because, you know, they're thinking nobody's going to actually confront me in real life.
yeah.
So in real life, it'll be much, much different.
So, and that's normal or wrong, but what kind
Yeah.
of upsets me is it kind of the people, they're people who have a lot of influence, sort of
The social
adding.
media influencers.
Well, not necessarily, not only influencers, you know, like
Yeah.
like for sure a big part of it is that, but it's also like, you know, public figures,
Oh, yeah.
political figures.
Oh, yeah.
You know, whoever is associated with those people,
That
and
is weird to me.
they stoke a lot of emotions, I find.
Yeah, that's weird to me that you would have, for example, politicians and stuff in the comments responding to people and so on. That I find that really weird. I was like, you've got bigger things to worry about, bigger issues, right?
Yeah.
And there's like, to me, it exposes some of them that you look stupid, if I could say that. Yeah. So
How would you? So a politician might say, well, we're seeing these issues that it's clearly disingenuous or false information. We're here to clarify, and if a post is getting enough attention, well, okay, they could step in and show that they care.
no, don't step in. Just do your job. No, because a lot of times it's not them seeing issues that they want to clear up. It's them clap backing, as the people say, clap back. It's them responding to people, getting in fights with people, and exposing that sometimes it exposes that these people are not the brightest and the best
Yeah,
for me. So
sure.
I said,
Yeah,
don't do it. You can have people to manage your social media. I think if you're a public figure like that, and yeah, you don't need to be in the comments responding to the ordinary people. I don't think so.
what are you seeing that's sort of, in your opinion, missing in our society? Like, what is there? There's clearly a lot of a lot of discontent.
Yeah.
Where do you think that comes from overall? Because some people would argue, oh well, we're on this big trajectory for development and good things are happening and are going to
Yeah.
happen and continue happening, but there's still a lot of things that people aren't happy about. What do you think is one major thing that needs to change for Guyana to become a more cohesive society?
Oh my.
I know that's a lot to
Yeah,
ask, but I
that's
mean,
a
I don't
lot.
expect you to have the answer, but where
I
can
can
we
give
start?
my opinion.
Yeah, of course.
One thing that needs to change is that we don't need to be slaves to these political parties like a lot of people have been for a long time. A lot of people don't really think outside of what these politicians are telling them and stuff. A lot of people, it doesn't matter what these politicians do or whatever, they will still support them and not hold them accountable. So I think one thing that is missing is the people really looking at the issues instead of personalities and aligning yourself with the issues. I want to see change instead of just saying, oh, I'm just going to support this person because, I've been a member of this political party for 50 years or whatever, and nothing is going to change that. And I think that's part of the reason we are the way we are right now, because for a long time, it's just been people, just voting for people because I'm not going to vote for the other side because of this reason or that reason. And then the political parties that we have now, too, I don't know. I'm kind of fed up with all of them
Yeah.
because I don't see them bringing anything new, really.
As in the two major ones, or
The two,
inclusive
ma-
of
the
the third
two
parties?
major ones. I mean, the small parties. Yeah, I have no hope in them either of it because I don't see them doing anything, just
Yeah.
to be blunt. But the two major political parties, it's like, I think they encourage, or maybe because of their actions, a lot of the conflict that we see happening, a lot of the discontent is encouraged by them. They don't really discourage it and say to people, oh, you can't do this or you can't do that. And a lot of people are just sheep. They just follow along. They don't think for themselves. And I think that's sad. So I think somewhere
But why do you think they don't think for themselves? I mean, is it like a
Because
literacy
that's-
thing? Is it just a
for some of them it is. For some of them it is, but for a lot of people it's because it's the way we've been conditioned, I guess. That this is the way things are, and it is what it is, and we're just gonna keep going along this thing. I can say that there's hope with some young people that maybe that's gonna change eventually. But for now, I just see the old stuff just keep repeating itself, and this is where we are. Yeah, and with all this talk about development and all that kind of stuff, a lot of people are still struggling and so on in this country, cost of living and all that. People are still really struggling. So a lot of people are not seeing that. And, you're told that, oh, you just got to wait or whatever. But life is happening now, and people need to live a good life now. With all the resources and everything we have, there's no reason for some people to be living the way they are in Guyana right now.
what necessarily contributes to a good life or a better circumstance and then also a better system? I also was in my conversation yesterday, had this debate about, you know, my friend was saying, oh, people need to get paid more.
Well, that's one.
Public sector, which is a big one.
Yeah,
But
which is
then
one.
my other friend was arguing that, you know, just because you pay people more
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that it will shift the culture of how they work.
That's true.
You can double someone's salary and may still be corrupt. They may still do underhanded business. They may still not do the amount of work that they're supposed to do to carry their weight. So, you know, what will, like, where do we start to contribute to giving people a better life? Is it
Yeah.
maybe just the cost of living?
Well, the cost of living is one thing that can be addressed because for me, I mean, it's me and two children, and every time you go to the supermarket, the prices are, it's like there's no price control here,
Yeah.
is there? You know, so
It doesn't
people,
feel like that.
right, so people just charge whatever they want. I think raising salaries for some people definitely will help, but like you were saying, some people, it doesn't matter really. But when I talk about good life, to me, you can have a good life whether you have money or not. You know, but you still need to be able to afford to feed yourself and clothe yourself. It's not necessarily being rich. It's just coming to that place where you understand life, you know, and you're happy with yourself and you're free and so on. So when I talk about good life, it encompasses all of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, no, it's an interesting conversation to have. I definitely have to remind myself sometimes, even when I feel like I'm, you know, under the pressure or whatever,
Yeah.
I really do. I'm teaching myself to find solidarity in the small things that I should be appreciative
Yes. Like one of the things I love to do is just go sit on the seawall sometimes.
yeah.
Look at the waves. I find that so relaxing. I walk in the national park on a regular for exercise.
for. Nice.
I find all those little things so relaxing, and those are the things I love about Guyana. You know, the little things that you can do. You can walk to the market. You can get fresh fruits. You can buy coconut water and all that. So those are the little things, and we really, really need to set aside time instead of just being tuned into all this stuff all the time. All this,
Yeah.
you really need to set aside that time to remove yourself. For me, in my personal life, I do things like meditation as well, which helps a lot. I used to do yoga. I need to start back. That's another
Same.
thing. Yeah. So it's the little things that help you to cope because it is what it is. This is where we are. We've just got to deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And I do hope there's you know, I hope more people realize that there's opportunity beyond the political environment or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, and that there's also like you can lead a good life without having to succumb to one party
Yes.
or the other or
Ugh.
one thought or the other, you know, whatever it is. But yeah, back to your writing,
Yeah.
which is more why I wanted to have you here and talk to you.
Yeah.
You know, I know you do a couple things. I last read that you were doing a book. Is it out yet?
No, my book is not out yet.
Buxtonian by birth. Is that it?
I am Buxtonian by birth, born in Buxton. I was born at home. So yeah, I'm a true Buxtonian.
But that's the name in the book as well.
No. The book doesn't have a name
Oh, sorry,
yet.
it doesn't have a name.
Yeah, and I'm
may
not
have
going to
misread.
release the name for now.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I've been working on that. I've had the idea, gosh, probably since like 2014, 2015. I got the idea to write the book. And then I actually started writing it in 2020 during COVID.
Oh, okay.
When I was spending a lot of time alone. Oh,
Good time to write a book.
a lot of people complain about 2020, but it was a beautiful time for me. I mean,
Yeah.
people were dying and sick and so on,
Yeah.
which is bad,
Yeah.
you know. But for me, I was so at peace during that time. I wrote 10 chapters of the novel during that time. And since then, some things happened like in 2021 and stuff. I've been stuck since then, but I'm going to finish it.
Have you
eventually.
revealed what it's about yet?
Not really.
Okay.
I've given snippets.
Could you
but,
give us a snippet?
Yes, of course. It's really about this character in the book finding herself.
Okay.
You know, returning to her roots, basically. It has to do with spirituality and all that. and it's also a love story in
Nice.
there. Yeah, it's inspired by probably some of my own experiences, like stuff that happened in my family when I was growing up and stuff. But it's also a story of fiction, you know. So yeah, I think it's gonna be a beautiful when I read back the chapters and stuff. You know, I think it's gonna be a beautiful novel. I think people are gonna like it whenever I get time to finish it, which I can't say when. I don't know.
The process of writing a novel,
Oh, gosh.
how does that work? And again, comparing it to, I could only relate based on my own craft.
Yeah.
If I formulate a documentary, which is what I do, I kind of like to lock in really hard until it's done. Because most of the time I'm trying to get it funded, or my living in many
Yeah.
regards. But I am just very dialed in for a long time. If it's a particularly long documentary with no due date, I
Yeah.
can step away for a couple of days or whatever. But I feel I can't stay away too long
Okay.
because I might just sort of lose
The momentum.
the spark, and the momentum. So, but writing a book, I mean,
Oh,
I
my
assume that's because it's fiction.
Yes, it is fiction.
It's a bit different because the characters are technically always developing because you're still developing.
Exactly. So it's you've got to plan it, plan it. I developed my character profiles and stuff like that before I started writing, so you know your characters. The beautiful thing about writing, when you get to that place where you're not writing the book, but the characters are actually writing the book, you know you're doing something right? So you've really got to know your characters and know what direction you really want this story from the start, middle, end. So I know all that. The reason it's not finished is because of time, really, and commitments to looking after my children and stuff. But I know how the book ends and all that already.
So it's just filling in the gaps then.
It's just finishing the last few chapters,
Okay.
and then editing the entire book, then getting a few people to review it, getting feedback, and yeah, hopefully within the next 2 years or so.
Oh, nice.
Some people take 20, 40 years to write a book, so I'm not beating up on myself at all.
Well, I'm glad you're doing it because we definitely need more
Guyanese writers,
yeah. Guyanese
novelists
books
and
out.
stuff, yeah.
Maybe get it in the curriculum. Who knows?
Yes.
But you said you have two girls.
Yes,
one
two daughters.
who's here. Do they inspire your writing at all? In terms of like your experience as a mother, does that translate into?
Yeah, definitely. It hasn't been easy. Well, for the last couple of years, it hasn't been easy because their father is not in the country right now. Yeah, so it's just been me and the two children. So being a single mom, it's not easy. Do not recommend it. I guess some people can do it with a smile and stuff, but because of the kind of work I do, writing, and you really need that time alone, that quiet space to just focus. And I don't really have a lot of that now
Yeah.
because it's just me and the two children, and it's always something to do. Take them to school, pick up from school, meetings, this, that, and that's part of the reason my novel is not finished because, so really what I do these days is really focus on the work that pays me because, you've got your bills to pay and so on. So I know that I have to do that every week, and I do that. But yeah, being a, parenting children by yourself has not been the easiest experience for me. But I love my children. I love doing it, and I know it's not gonna be that way forever. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm married and without children, and
Any plans?
I not I won't say plans, but definitely
If it happens, it happens.
yeah, no, but I genuinely would like to.
Yeah, children it's a commitment.
Yeah, but what I've
All your
noticed-
money
yeah,
is gone.
but that's the thing, as I keep hearing.
All your money is gone. Trust me. You don't focus on you anymore. It's all about them, making sure
Yeah.
their needs are met. You come last in
Yeah.
that equation. So yeah.
I have a lot. Well, all my contemporaries, most of them have
Parents?
just had kids, and
Yeah.
they're like maybe 1 to 3
Oh
years
my!
in.
I don't want that age again.
Yeah, but what I appreciate, to be honest, is the fact that people are very these days candid about the realities of parenting.
It is.
It's no longer a facade about, oh, this is the
No.
best thing that ever
Nah.
happened to me and I can't. They acknowledge that they love their children more than
Yeah,
anything
but
else.
it's hard.
But the challenges are very,
It's
they're
real,
real.
and when you're living in Guyana with the cost of living and all that,
Yeah.
you can't tell your children, "Oh, I don't have breakfast for you this morning or lunch." You've got to find it however
Yeah.
you can,
Yeah.
So it is what it is. But eventually, children become adults, and you want them to be the best version of themselves. That's what I want for my children, for them to have the best and the best that I can provide, and become the best versions of themselves. So you do what you must.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just pivoting onto another project of yours, you were heavily involved in the writing of Merundoi.
Yes.
Have been heavily involved, and I
From
actually
its inception, yeah.
from its inception, 2006.
Six. I was young then.
Yeah, but I was young too.
Early
Actually,
20s for me.
oh really?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Well, you don't look that old.
I know. She's
Good
touched
genes.
40.
Wow. So I remember listening to it a little maybe post 2007, and really it catching me. The stories and
Yeah.
you know how Guyanese are so critical of our own artists and our art forms, and Maruna was one of the first things I've listened to, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. To a point where I actually, when I started to get into this space of creativity, I was like, I wonder if I have a space in Merundoi to try out as a voice actor. Because because I was so impressed with how they were all carried and the
Natural
writing.
Guyanese.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and sounded great.
Yeah.
So, what is that process like? I mean, let's talk about first of all, how did it start? Where did this idea come from?
Yeah. When Merundoi first started, it was funded by PEPFAR or USAID. And it started off with a workshop, which they call the March Workshop, Modeling and Reinforcement to Combat HIV and AIDS. I think that's the meaning of that. So a group of creatives were called together, were invited to this workshop. I think it was about like 30-something or 40-something of us. Miss Margaret Lawrence, she had seen me on a television program talking about me wanting to, write and so on. And so she got my information and called me and invited me to the workshop because she was involved in the process. So we were there. It was a 3-week workshop, training in modeling behavior change, basically, right? So the training was on that. The trainers were like from the US, I think. Yeah. And throughout that process, they were basically... I think we were given like tests and stuff like that during that process. It's so long ago. My memory is kind of fuzzy. But yeah, at the end of that workshop, at the end of that 3-week workshop, 4 writers were selected to work on the project that would become known as Merundoi. The name Merundoi, gosh, I can't remember. I think it means strength and resilience or something like that. And it's actually an Amerindian word that was given to us by Miss Desiree Fox. Yeah, I think she passed away now, if I'm not incorrect. Yeah, so she gave us the name for Merundoi. And so that's how it started. So when we first started, like I said, there were 4 writers. The main focus at that point was on HIV and AIDS.
I remember a lot of the themes being HIV.
Yeah, it was on HIV and AIDS. 4 writers, we had 4 separate storylines. Each writer was responsible for one storyline. So creating the storyline, creating the characters, everything to do with it.
So they gave you the storylines?
Well, the topic.
Okay.
But you as the writer had to come up with, okay, how is this going to go?
So give me an example of a storyline if you can.
One of the storylines involved a teenager, a 14-year-old girl, whose mother was involved in a relationship with a taxi driver at the time. And he was HIV positive, basically groomed the young girl, infected her. So the storyline saw her journey from, him from realizing what he had done to her, the parents, the mother, the grandmother, eventually him going to prison and all of that. So that's one example of one that we started with. We also looked at other issues like parent and child communication, alcohol abuse and stuff like that. Those were also themes in Merundoi during that time. And over the years, we've looked at so many other topics to do with other health issues, diabetes, um, cancer, cervical cancer, all of that. We've dealt with those issues over the years. So yeah, Morondoi really is a place where we can look at any issue really
Where
through our
does
characters.
where does one storyline end? Like so, for example, the girl who was
Yeah.
groomed and then got infected by the taxi driver. You know, how long does her arc go on for?
I think her storyline was like 2 years. Yeah,
really?
yeah. I think that storyline. I think
2 years at 8 episodes a month.
Yeah, I
Wow.
think the first storylines were all 2 years in length. But with Merundoi, a storyline can be from anywhere from 3 months to 2, 3 years, however long it takes to. The way it operates now is, it's based on funding, and a lot of times is the fund people who are funding will come to us and say, okay, we want to look at this specific issue, targeting this population or whatever, and so we are tasked to come up with a storyline as to how we will convey the messages and stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah. And so basically, the writers, I mean, do you guys, you're in charge of your own storylines. Do they ever intersect?
Yes, yes.
So how do
it
you-
used to be beautiful back then when we had 4 writers.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So it's only you now, but back then, how
Yeah.
do writers collaborate and get
Yeah.
into that space
We
together?
would plan together. Like we would plan the
Okay.
episodes together. I'm not sure. I'm thinking it was maybe like once a month we would all come together and plan. Okay, so this is gonna happen in this episode. Blah blah blah. These characters have this relationship from your storyline, my storyline. Sometimes just because you are responsible for a storyline doesn't mean that you only write for those characters. The characters can cross over to other storylines and stuff. So
Gotcha.
it's really like a village. Morondoi is
Yeah.
a village. So the storylines really came across as, you're living in a village and you're interacting with all these people. So back then, yeah, we would meet and we would plan. When the scripts were written, we would do table readings of the scripts.
Nice.
Oh, it used to be so much fun back then. I mean, it's still fun, but back then it was just awesome. So yeah, that's some of the things we did.
Does this go through, because you guys air primarily on NCN?
Not only NCN, many other radio stations, and Morondoi is in all the regions.
Oh, it's in all the
Yeah,
regions. Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
When you create a few episodes or a storyline or whatever, is there any body that it has to pass through?
Yeah. So, for example, if the European Union is sponsoring a storyline, right, and we're looking at a specific topic, they would have a person that you're communicating with. So once I would have created the storyline, it goes to that person for them to review it and so on and say, okay. And if there's any feedback, if there's anything I need to change, it comes back to me. And then before the final approval, then you can go ahead and start writing the scripts.
Yeah. Is there anything writers tend to stay away from, like things that you maybe don't want to touch?
In Merundoi?
Yeah. in
No,
Merundoi.
yeah, politics definitely.
Politics,
we don't touch on politics
Gotcha.
in Merundoi at all.
Especially if you broadcast on public radio.
Right, yeah. So politics is one that
Yeah.
yeah, that's
I hear
a
it.
no-
I figured you'd say
a
that.
no-go zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So started off great, 4 writers. This was very a
It's still
collaborative
great.
effort.
It's still great.
It's
But
still great.
I miss those days when it was all of us and
Why is it just you now then?
because of the years we've become a smaller staff and all of that, and some people left, they went on to do other things and so on. So now it's just me for the last couple of years. It was 2 of us for a while, and then the other guy, he migrated.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's just me for a while. Yeah. So I basically work by myself for the most part. Yeah, my like I said, if I do a storyline, it has to be reviewed. I send the scripts to the executive director every week, and I think she also edits. So yeah, but I work completely from home,
Yeah.
so that's one.
How long
thing.
does it take you to knock out an episode?
I don't think I should reveal my secret,
Gotcha. I hear you.
but
That's
not
fine.
very long because
Well,
when
no,
you
I asked you. You probably a pro at it by now.
yeah, when you've been doing it for
Yeah.
so long, it's like breathing,
Yeah,
you
no,
sit-
100%. I mean,
and
you've
then
lived
because
this for years. you
yeah,
know?
and because the storylines are so well planned out as well, and then it's the storyline, and then I plan 8 episodes a month. So, you do the treatment for the episodes. So from the treatment, you write the scripts, and it doesn't take that long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the characters are just naturally interacting in your head.
Yeah. All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Morun, there's so many characters in Merundoi now. Some of the characters that were there in 2006 are still there. Some of them are no longer there. They just, disappeared. And you're always introducing new people as well, depending on the needs of whatever storyline you're doing. So, yeah, I love doing it. I'm not gonna lie. I love doing Merundoi. I love writing generally.
Do you have any influence on the voice actors who do these characters?
No,
No.
no. When we need a new actor, most times I would write like an audition script, and then like I said, I don't be in the office or in the studio or anything. So the director would do the auditions with them. Mr. Ron Robinson, he still directs the episodes. So yeah, they do the audition and then they decide. Sometimes they would send the auditions to me to listen to the voice to say whether I think this voice is correct for this role. So yeah, maybe I do.
Gotcha. It's funny. I thought that the writer would have. I'm not that I expect you to be making all the calls, but
No.
I just thought because it's coming from you, I guess.
Yeah, because sometimes when you're writing a certain character, it sounds away in your head that you're thinking this person's gonna sound like this, but you don't always get that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Do you like seeing it come to life? Like do you listen to the episodes?
Sometimes. I
Yeah.
mean, I listen on the website because Merundoi has a website as
Oh,
well.
no way.
www.merundoi.org.gy. Yes, yeah. So I listen to the episodes on the website. And sometimes I would sit and listen 10 episodes one time. Most of the times, yeah, I'm pleased with the way...
How long's an episode? Sorry.
About 15 minutes.
15, not sound
Yeah.
bad.
Most of the times I'm pleased, but then sometimes when you listen back, you say like, I did not mean for that to sound like that. So,
Yeah.
but most of the times I'm happy with the
Sure.
way the actors,
Sure.
portray. Yeah.
That's cool though. I mean, to have that because you're the writer and then you just kind of going, oh, I wonder what they did with this, and let me
listen.
you
let
can
me
relive
tune
that,
in. Yeah.
through
And
you're reliving that through a different artist's eyes, I guess, the director of
we
whoever
must
puts it
have
together.
almost 2,000 episodes by now.
No way.
On the website from the moment we started in 2006, all the episodes are on there to where we are now.
That is crazy.
So yeah,
I feel like this isn't celebrated enough. That's a big accomplishment.
It is, and it's the longest running radio serial drama in the Caribbean.
Oh, in the Caribbean.
Yes, it is the longest we've been on air. 2006 to now is what, almost 18 years. We started it went on air in October 16th of 2006, but the writers had been working since about April or May that year. Developing the storylines, doing the scripts, doing auditions and stuff. So yeah.
You know what would be so cool? Sorry to interject. I just thought about this. Like,
Yeah.
with all the development and foreigners coming in, it could be cool to have like a cross culture episode with you have like involving a Jamaican or a Trini or something like that.
Yeah.
And then bring in their own things to a story.
Yeah, I agree. All possibilities
Yeah.
for the future.
If
Yeah.
it happens, I'll give you my bank account details, so my cut. So give you the idea.
Yes. Even though I don't make those decisions. But yeah.
But you could pass it on to whoever.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, that's great. So I guess you're finding it you're still enjoying it then.
I'm still enjoying it, but yeah, I'm still enjoying it.
Is there anything that you particularly want to get into to take your talents to? You don't necessarily have to be in total control.
Yeah.
But what project would you like say, if I can like do this full time and make a living, I really want to be involved in a project like X?
Yeah, I want to get more into film.
Nice.
I've got some friends who, my friend Ray Wilshire, Georgetown Film Festival, they're doing some great stuff. There was a premiere of their latest film last week. So I want to get more into film and television. I think Guyana is missing like sitcoms.
Yeah.
Well, I think there is a sitcom, or anyway. Yeah, I wanna write. I wanna get more into doing work like that. film and television. Um, I'm a I, I'm already a playwright, so I've done several plays, but I also want to be more involved in staging of some more plays and stuff like that. So yeah, those are all plans that I have, all stuck in my head for now.
Yeah, got it.
But yeah, I've written a couple of films. 2 or 3 were produced, local films. Yeah. But yeah, I really want to get more into that. There are some films that I've been developing, full length films that I've been developing. I started writing the script for one of them, but stuck with that, just like the novel. That's on on pause. Yeah. Television. There is this project that I might be doing with somebody else for television, a sitcom.
Oh, nice.
So let's see where we go with that. So yeah, those are some of the things that I want to get involved in the near future.
When you think about these projects, right, which are very cool projects,
Yeah.
what is the sort of driving force behind it? I ask because a lot of these are from your own, your own initiative. You want to do something like this, but our creative industry isn't set up where, okay, you can do this and easily find the funding, or you
Oh
can
yeah.
do this
No.
and there's a sort of back end reward if it's produced and you get it sold. Like there's never a direct path to it. Like, for example, right now I'm working on a documentary and I think it's gonna be fantastic. I have no idea how it's gonna reward itself. I don't know how I'm gonna recoup my costs for doing it,
Yeah.
or even make a profit.
Yeah.
But right now, the idea for me is just getting it done.
Yeah.
How do you look at your work where it's like, okay, you want to make films, you want to do television, like, how do you strongly consider, well, I really got to figure out how this is going to make money?
Yeah, I don't really think you want to make money from it, but that's not my main focus. Like when I'm thinking about these projects, I don't really think, okay, too much about how it's going to make money. It's really the drive in you, that need in you to create, because
Yeah.
you're a creative, and it's really that fire in you that you want to create, and ideas are always coming because that's who you are. You're
Yeah.
a creative, so it's really that drive of wanting to create, and also to influence change. To showcase Guyana, showcase our culture and stuff. Like with with sitcom and stuff. Like I said, we're missing some stuff on TV. We're missing a lot of local programming. So it's also wanting to fill that gap.
Yeah.
And with film, I think we can do so much with film in Guyana. We've got so many beautiful places that the world has not seen. When you go into the Rupununi and all those places, oh, it's beautiful. So yeah, those are some of the reasons I'm inspired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, I didn't want to make it sound like it's just about the money. I'm just saying
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like it's just like,
You gotta live.
because I have the creative fire too, and I want to do it as best as I can. I kind of,
Yeah.
to be very honest with you, I'm kind of losing the, I'm gonna affect a lot of local change.
Yeah, you're losing
my,
that.
My position,
Just-
and maybe we can talk about this, but my position has more become, I want to show Guyana to the world.
To the world, yeah. I
Because
agree with
because
that.
I feel like the local change, and this is just my subjective critical analysis, is that I feel the Guyanese aren't as, maybe they don't
They're not as
necessarily like what I
open-minded.
have to offer.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm a bit, okay, well, I don't think I can. I look at the things that do get a lot of reactions and engagement, and I definitely can't do that.
Yeah, most Guyanese will not sit and look at the documentary.
Yeah.
And even when you're doing like serious, like for example, like I said, I'm a playwright, right? So when my plays address like serious issues. I don't write comedy,
Yeah.
right? So even with dramatic plays like that, you put it on at the National Culture Center, the Theatre Guild, you don't get a big audience.
Yeah.
But if it's comedy, people go to see that. So
Like Link Show and stuff like that.
yeah, because and I guess you can't fault people for that, because like we were talking about earlier, we're living in such a stressful environment, that people just want to go to the theater, just have a laugh, relax. So yeah, that's one of the issues I found with theater, is that when you put on these dramatic plays and stuff, a lot of people don't want to come see it. A lot of people don't want to see that. They just want to see mostly comedy and yeah.
We do a lot of plays here relative to film,
Yeah.
which is a good thing. Plays, and again, this is another opinion I have. I could be wrong, but I find plays don't necessarily get heavy engagement. You don't see many a time a packed out theater of people
Yeah.
who are interested in plays. Do you think there's value in the theater bodies coming together with the film bodies to do collaboration? Because if you can
Oh, yeah,
shoot
that's a
if you can
beautiful
shoot
idea.
the play,
Yeah.
and you can distribute that,
Mm-hmm.
then obviously people will have to work together to figure out the finances and that stuff. That stuff could get touchy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, wouldn't it be better to collaborate, have a bigger distribution, connect a bigger audience, as you have your live shows, but then on the back end you release it, so more
Yeah.
people get to see it, and then you can also add flair to the cinematography to even enhance the
Yeah,
actual
I've
play.
seen some people have recorded plays, but like you said, you're talking about cinematography and all of that. It's just basically a camera pointed to the stage recording.
Yeah,
the play.
no, you gotta shoot tight. You gotta,
Right. So
you're not gonna
that's what
shoot
it's
this
been.
while the play is going on. This has to be filmed separately, like a rehearsal or something.
The culture with people not really going to see play, because I remember when I was a little girl, into my teens, I started going to the theater when I was, I don't know, maybe like 3 years old or whatever, pretty young. I remember the moment I fell in love with stage. I was probably about 5 or 6 years old, because my father, before he died, he was also a writer. And then my uncle, he was a director, so he would direct plays at the culture center and stuff. And I can remember it being packed, back then, and, it was during that time that I fell in love with stage. And I said, when I get older, this is something I want to be involved in. It changed within the last 2 decades or so. People stopped going to see dramatic plays. And like I said, maybe, it's because of the stressful environment, people just want to go have a laugh. They don't really want to, see anything that's going to make them sad or cry or whatever. But most of the plays that are written, and what I've noticed with the young playwrights, especially people who are now coming into it, a lot of what they're writing about is, it's heavy social issues, like child abuse and rape and all this kind of thing. That's heavy stuff.
You think that's a bad thing?
I don't think it's a bad thing, but because I've written about some of the same issues. It's the way you craft it, When you're now starting off as a playwright, you just want to get your voice out there, But I've been doing it for so long. It's like now I've gotten to a point in my career. You can say like I'm a professional playwright or whatever. So if you're gonna write about a particular topic, you think about, you don't want to just. It's coming up with creative ways to put it over so people can be sucked in.
Yeah.
You know.
You don't want to be too literal on everything.
Right.
Because I find a lot of people come very macro on the big issue is like the star of the show, as opposed to the micro the micro personalities or things that drive this big issue.
Yeah. But theater really, I mean, a lot of us have been saying that, oh, it's been dying, it's dead or whatever. Now trying to bring it back. There's a collab with the theater community and the Ministry of Culture right now, staging Guyana prize-winning plays. It's supposed to be 4 plays a year, right? So that we've been doing that. For this year, there was 1 play staged so far, a play by Dr. Paloma Mohammed. And I don't know what the next play is gonna be, but little things like that are happening. But I think there's so much more that can be done to revive theater in Guyana. Yeah, and for me, it's a sore issue, because I love stage. I say I want to get more into film and television, but stage really is my first love.
Yeah.
In terms of writing and stuff. So yeah, hoping something can change.
You spoke about the writers coming up, what they write about, and these issues.
Yeah, it's a lot of even with the poetry as well. It's not
Yeah.
only play because I judged a poetry slam the other day. I think it was like in February or early March, and the topics, most of the issues were about like mental health.
Yeah, I actually was about to tell you the last
Yeah,
time I saw slam poetry was a lot of anxiety and depression and
that's what it
the dark
was.
void and
Yeah,
which is fine.
and
I'm
these are
not.
young people, so
Yeah,
it just speaks to where we're living and what we're living in,
yeah.
What these young people are going. So yeah,
Whereas 20 years ago, what do you think they wrote about 20 years ago? You know, you were
maybe
writing it.
nature and stuff. I don't know.
Oh,
Maybe more
yeah,
about nature and
yeah.
um, patriotism and that kind of
A
thing.
reflection of the old childhood days or something
Yeah,
like
that
that.
kind of
Yeah,
thing. The woman walking in the market with the basket on her head, and
gotcha. Interesting.
I don't know.
You know,
20 years ago, yeah, I was in my 20s, early 20s.
when where are writers coming from? Like, do they just come out of high school? Are they coming out of UG? Are they just these younger
From
kids?
Yeah, from different places. Yeah, some from high school, as you mentioned, UG, theater guild, for example. They have workshops every week. They encourage people to come if you
Oh,
wanna.
okay. Anyone
Yeah,
can go.
yeah, anyone can go once a week, every Wednesday from 7 p.m., 7 to 9. Yeah, and so some writers emerge from that. There's also the drama school. There's a drama school at the National Cultural Center that comes under the Ministry of Culture, the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture, Culture, Youth and Sport, Culture, Youth and Sport. Yeah, so people are trained there. I think the course is 1 year. You're trained in playwriting, acting, everything to do with theater. So some of the writers are coming from there as well.
Yeah.
So different places. But a lot of the stuff is centered in Georgetown, though, and I know there's talent all over Guyana. So I think people who live in some of the other regions are, probably not. There are probably some really good writers out there that we don't know of
Yeah.
because they're not, in
With-
Region 4 or
With
where.
totally different experiences.
Exactly. Like if you're growing up in the Rupununi, it's a completely different experience from growing up in.
How wild would that be if you literally and figuratively, if you put like someone from the hinterland region and their experience is put together in a play, or they
Oh
were
my
like those
God.
stories, like
That would be awesome.
yeah,
That would be awesome. It'd be so different from what's coming from us
yeah.
in this region.
Even film, man, like
Even
like
film, yeah.
there's so
even
much
film.
there's so much to tell. But yeah, just last couple of questions. One, how do you think we can inspire the next generation of creatives? I mean, there's like, you're a writer.
Yeah.
We spoke about connecting with new audiences. A lot of this is done through short form video, social media consumption. And I get why that's off putting for people like me and you who are a little older. But, that's clearly where it's going. Not to say people aren't going to write, but how can we bring the sort of two generational thoughts together with maybe utilizing the craft of writing, maybe getting it into new forms of distribution to bring the new narrative together?
I think a lot of collaboration, bringing the old and new together, supporting the young people, of course, helping them to, polish their craft and stuff like that. Because a lot of times when they're coming into it, yeah, they've got a talent and stuff, but they need people to guide them. And also producing, showing them that even though we're in Guyana and it might be difficult to get funding to do your work and stuff, just keep pushing, and saying, oh. And I think there has to be a merging between the old and the new and coming up with new creative ideas and stuff to push it forward. Yeah.
But you've worked on different things: radio, television, film.
Stage, yeah.
Stage. Do you see, what does the collaboration look like to you? Is that like a eye gouging process to get people to work together? I know Guyanese
Probably.
particularly have a lot of ego.
Yeah, and I find that a lot of the older generation are probably stuck in their ways, They're accustomed to doing things one way, and they might not be so open to change. So even though some of them might be. So it's finding ways to bridge that generational gap and stuff. Like you said, a lot of the young people are doing a lot of things online now, TikTok and all this. Apps like that provide the opportunity for you to just go in there and do whatever you want to do. So, you know, working, got to find some way to work together.
Gotcha. All right. Well, moving forward, what's next for you in terms of your article, your book? What do you want to get done by this year?
By this year, I'm working on a play which I want to finish this year, a new stage play. So, yeah, that's one thing I want to finish this year. Hopefully, I'm not committing to finishing my book this year. And I don't know why. I know. I kind of been stuck. But definitely, I want to finish that play this year. Yeah, maybe get working the sitcom. I started working on the sitcom, so hopefully that we get that off. So that's another thing as well. Yeah, I don't know. And the truth is, I don't know. I think I might leave Guyana for a little bit within the next 2 years.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think I might leave for a little bit. Yeah, because I'm kind of tired. I still want to continue my writing and stuff on the locally, but I think I need to leave for a little bit for my own sake. Yeah.
I could relate. I could relate. We need to get out of here sometimes.
Yeah, and I mean, people, other creatives that live overseas, family, they've been encouraging me to leave for a long time. But the truth is, I love Guyana, and I really would prefer to live here than any other place. But when you've got children and stuff like that, you really got to think about their future. And so yeah, I think I'll be leaving for a little bit eventually, sometime within the next 2 years.
Well, I wish you nothing but the best. I will be remiss if I didn't say that, were you to ever leave, Guyana would be missing, not losing,
Like I
but
said,
missing a talent.
even though I'm leave, I still
No,
want
I know, but
to be active.
But the idea of having you here to inspire the next generation, all I'm gonna say is do as much as you can if you decide to go before. So you sort of pass the local mantle.
Yeah, I'm doing what I can now. Hopefully, I'm inspiring people, with what I'm doing now.
I think you
But
are.
I just need to go out and do something else. I feel like I've been stuck for a while. I mean, even though I'm always creating and stuff, I still feel like being here, I've been stuck for a while, and I need to just branch out for a little bit, spread my wings, as they say. So, and it really makes me sad that you feel like you need to at some point, because, like I said, I love my country, and I'd prefer to live here than any place else. But it's a number of factors involved in my decision.
Oh. Are you unhappy here?
I won't say I'm completely unhappy, but a little bit. And that happened. When did that happen? Within like the last year. Yeah, within the last year, like seeing a lot of things that are happening in the country, it just kind of dimmed parts of the light in me, feeling like, oh, is it ever gonna get better? For my personal growth and all that, because I feel like I've done everything I can do in Guyana, if you understand. Like as a creative, I think that I've done a lot of what I wanted to do already. I mean, there is still growth to, do film and television and all that. I can still, but I think like a lot of the dreams I had and stuff of seeing the things that I could do here, I've done them. And sometimes I find myself asking, okay, how far am I going to go? How far can I go, being here? So it's moments like that. And like I said, having children has a lot to do with it for me, because I want my children to have the best that life can offer. And if that means opportunities overseas, then I've got to take them for their sake. If it was only me, then, I'd probably stay and tough it out.
Yeah.
But it's not only me. So, yeah.
Do you think there are a lot of other people that feel that way?
Yeah, I think so. Um, I think there are a lot of other people that feel that way. Like I said, for me, it really happened within the last year and a half. Like I went to the U.S. last year, and I've been going there for a while because most of my relatives live there. My mom, a couple of my sisters. And every time I would go to the U.S. in the past, I would like after 2 weeks I would want to come back to Guyana. I'd be like, oh, I miss Guyana. But when I went last year, it was just different. Like I don't know, maybe it was being with my family, like me and my mom and my sisters all in the same place for the first time in a few years. Maybe it had to do with that. But I just felt like I didn't want to come back. Which is, I mean, the U.S. is a different beast you're dealing with when you go there, right? But I just felt like I felt so relaxed and at peace. And like I said, because I was just on vacation, right? So I'm staying with my mom and my sisters. So the reality of living there didn't hit me like if you got to get up and go to work and stuff. But I just felt I just did not want to come back. But here I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? This is something that I've sort of come to a revelation, like reading your column and stuff like that. You're obviously you identify, with your particular ethnicity, and it's reflected in your writing. You've written
Yeah.
about you've written about BLM, George Floyd. You write
Oh.
about social issues
Oh,
here.
yeah.
So you're obviously very connected to that identity. I bring this up because I always felt that living in Guyana, it's weird. Like I don't really connect with a particular racial identity.
Yeah.
Probably more Chinese than anything else because my grandma is Chinese and she's like the matriarch of our family. So that is
Okay.
something that means a lot to me.
Okay.
However, when you're talking about mass, like mass forums, it's the Chinese culture is not something that's talked about a lot, even though we
That's
we
true.
claim it as part of our, one of our 6 races, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, the narrative and the public narrative and forum is usually dominated by the African experience and the Indian experience.
Yeah.
And on the national scale, I've been seeing a lot of conversations around this idea of discrimination.
Yeah.
And it's something that I whether it's my background or my privilege or whatever, I don't know, that I could not, I probably don't understand. But when we talk about discrimination, like, what does that necessarily translate to for certain people here? Because I guess the way I see it is like you have two majority groups.
Yeah.
And then there's this idea of discrimination. I'm not invalidating the experience, but I'm just trying to maybe understand where does that come from in present day when we have this current system that we have. Like, where is that most prevalent, you think?
I mean, okay, we can look at some experiences that some incidences that we've seen within the last year or so. For example, like the people in Mocha who were, their homes were broken down and all that. And then one of the things that really got to me, I don't know if you've seen that picture with that woman sitting in the mud. Her home was broken down and stuff. I don't know if you've seen that picture.
I am not sure.
Yeah. And then there's a lot of things that you hear about. In terms of my experiences, I really just think about the experiences of other people because I can't say that I've had any experiences within the last year. But I'd like to think that for me, it's looking at other people's experiences. It's kind of a tricky question for me.
Yeah. And again, I'm just trying to understand it. I guess my
Uh, okay, for me, it's feeling like you are becoming second class citizens in your country because of certain things that you've seen happening. Um, for example, I've known people who, there's ancestral lands and stuff like that. And I've known people who their lands are under threat. Like people are threatening to take away their lands and stuff. Um, so that's one thing. Also, I don't want to get into that though. There's one thing I wanted to talk about, but I don't want to get into that because it has to do with politics and stuff.
Gotcha.
So I'd rather just stay away from that. But for me, it's like this. There's this general unease among people of African descent that maybe your voices, or maybe there's this shadow hanging over you that there is some kind of effort to dim your light in this country, and because of some of what you're seeing, a lot of it has to do with politics, which I don't want to talk too much about that. So it's that feeling of, okay, where are we going and what is it going to look like in a couple of years for us as a people, you know? So it's feelings like that. A lot of people are talking about, oh, who's getting the wealth and stuff in the country. But then again, when you say it's not passing down to the people, it's not only people of African descent. A lot of Indian Guyanese and stuff are also complaining about that. So it's issues like that in my head, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, by the way. I think these are important issues to discuss because we talk about them, but if we don't sort of get our hands dirty and really just talk through it,
Yeah,
man to woman, man to man, whatever, it doesn't really
there's
get
one
solved.
thing too, like there was research done, like in terms of like people getting contracts and stuff.
Yeah.
And seeing that, okay, it's mostly like East Indians getting most of the contracts to build roads and doing this, and so it's issues like that
Sure.
that make people of African descent feel like. And then when you look at the public service, for example, the thing with the teachers and with the wages and stuff like that, them not wanting to raise their salaries, and a lot of people, oh, it's mostly people of African descent that are in that are teachers.
Or public
know,
service. Yeah.
Right. So there's stuff like that, like, okay, you don't want some people are thinking like, you don't want these people to progress. You just want to keep them in a certain, but so it's issues like that.
Yeah. I totally understand not getting into the nuances of its political influence. I don't
Yeah,
expect
yeah, a
you to.
lot of
Let's
it.
definitely steer away from that. But my question is, because obviously these are feelings that a lot of people have, which is
Yeah.
why it's tabled on so many big forums.
Yeah.
But my question is, do these things still exist, or does the root problem still exist if the national leadership or government is black, is represents the black experience? You know what I'm saying? As opposed to it now just being the East Indian the East Indian, they're if the shoe's on the other foot,
Yeah.
is this problem right now better, or is it just the same problem, but
It's probably
it's just better for
a certain
a certain type of
which is
person now?
which is the problem we've had, having this one party rule, and if it's the PPP in government, then you say, it's mostly East Indians that are smiling or whatever, and if it's the other part, the PNC or whoever, it's most. But like I said, that's one of the root of our problems as a nation. Personally, I think that we probably should have like shared governance.
Yeah.
I think probably that's the way to go.
Yeah.
Not that it will solve all our problems, but I think maybe it will. We will start to get there then, as a
Yeah.
people. So yeah, like I said, I don't like to get too much into the politics and stuff, but
For sure.
I guess you can't help it though.
No, but it's frustrating because it really, the anxiousness of having to discuss the realities when there are things like maybe victimization or
Yeah.
whatever, it almost, that in itself is a silencing thing because we are self-conditioned. Every time I get on this podcast and it inevitably comes into like a politically related issue,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, okay, well, I guess we could only go so deep.
Yeah.
And it's not even that you necessarily looking to point the finger and cast blame, but it's
No,
speaking the reality of our situation. I think if Guyanese had some autonomy in society where everything wasn't totally dictated by politics,
Right.
we might get to where we're supposed to go. But anyway, I thank you very much for indulging me. I guess on that note, Mosa, I just want to say thank you so much. This was such a delight talking to you about Merundoi and writing and just your column. And I'm a big fan, as you know, and I really hope we can see
Gotta
more
write
work
that
for you.
today.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
It was a pleasure talking with you. Thanks for inviting me.
No worries. Welcome back anytime.
Yeah.